Hey everyone, Adam Castle here, Director of Venture Services for WeTech Alliance, and you're about to see footage from our latest meeting of the Regional Alliance. The Regional Alliance is a bi-monthly meeting that brings together business resource organizations, academia, and industry to take a deep dive into our region's key sectors. We invite businesses to present and share with us their challenges, opportunities, and plans for growth in the near future. This month's meeting focus was on our tourism and culture industry, and we were lucky enough to welcome in Adriano Ciotoli, co-founder of WindsorEats, who gives us an amazing look at how they've used the pandemic as a license to try as many big, bold, and beautiful ideas as possible, and what trends they're paying closest attention to as the industry moves to recovery mode over the next couple years. If you'd like to present at the Regional Alliance, head to the link below for information on how to reach out. Coming up in March, we'll be focusing in on the med health innovation space and are always on the hunt for new businesses to join us. Thanks so much and hope you enjoy.
Adriano, we're so excited to have you present here today. Multi-award winning tourism operator in Ontario, recognized around the world for his contributions to the field. And we're just so blessed to have him here in our backyard. So thank you for joining us, and please take it away, buddy.
Thank you very much, Adam. And I'm just gonna share my screen here. So I see there's a few people that have joined in since we did the introduction. So for those that weren't here for it, my name is Adriano Ciotoli, and co-owner of WindsorEats, and I'm pretty much going to jump right into things to make sure that we're making good use of time. So you may or may not know who WindsorEats is. We were founded back in 2004 after identifying an opportunity. Back then, Google and the internet really weren't what they are now. So WindsorEats started as a simple restaurant and menu guide for people to determine where to go out to eat, and giving people the ability to search for restaurants, local restaurants, by location, type of cuisine, and a whole bunch of other options. So we were the first real concerted effort to showcase culinary tourism in Windsor-Essex. Now, while I officially founded it, my sister Pina was involved from the get-go in providing immeasurable support. And as things started picking up, she became an official partner and has been a massively important part of WindsorEats ever since. Now, after 2 to 3 years of focusing solely on being a restaurant guide, we started seeing gaps in the marketplace and identified opportunities that still stay true to our goal of showcasing local culinary. So in 2007, we developed our first experience, the Wine Trail Ride cycling tours, and they included visiting 3 wineries by bike out in the county, with a locally sourced long table feast in the vineyard, prepared by a chef right beside your long table. The success was immediate and was the transitioning into an experiential tourism operator. Now, as a result, we've been really fortunate that our efforts have been recognized, as Adam mentioned, locally, provincially, and nationally, with several awards, including being named Best of Small Medium-Sized Tourism Business in Canada, which we're extremely proud of. We were even 2 of 137 entrepreneurs from around the world placed on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine for our efforts, alongside people like Guy Fieri, Pitbull, Magic Johnson, and P. Diddy, and I guess you can say, since we're throwing in tech here, the CEOs from Google, LinkedIn, and Zoom. And in 2001, we were the recipient of another 3 Ontario Tourism Awards for our work. Now, we look at ourselves as curators, telling the stories of Windsor-Essex through food and drink. And in all our activities, big and small, our core goal is always to identify and tell the unique stories of the places and the people that we're visiting and interacting with. So with that being said, what story do we have to tell regarding tourism in Windsor-Essex? Well, to say COVID had a monstrous impact on small businesses in tourism would be kind of to say a 10.0 earthquake was just a small vibration. Now, notice I said monstrous impact and not horrible or bad. While there were a lot of negatives that happened, if you looked in the cracks and gaps for light shining through, there were plenty. And that's not to say things are fine and dandy, because they're far from it, but there are still plenty of opportunities to grab hold of. And WindsorEats not only created and offered many innovative products and experiences during the last 2 years, we also took it upon ourselves to take a leadership role in providing support to our business clients who are operating in two of the hardest hit industries as a result of the pandemic, being hospitality and tourism. So the first thing that we did, and this is just to give you a breakthrough of how kind of we dealt with the pandemic so far to help businesses. Understanding the hardship the hospitality and tourism industries were going through and would continue to go through for the foreseeable future, WindsorEats immediately halted all our charges and fees to our business clients beginning in April 2020, right up until 2021. And suspending fees for our business members while continuing to market them, as well as offering free membership to any new hospitality and tourism businesses, was our way of showing that we cared and helping to do our little part to ensure that they were still around when the pandemic ended. With tourism halted of all our tours, events, and festivals, eliminating business fees for our business clients essentially removed the final revenue stream our business had. But we were adamant on doing the right thing for businesses and people, and the people that we have developed relationships with over the so many years. Now, why did that matter? Because it showed that we understood our clients and our industry, and that we cared about their businesses and their well-being more than we cared about profiting off of them. It showed the relationships we built over the years were more than just work. Next, with the elimination, and I know it sounds weird that free online karaoke is up there, but with the elimination of all our revenue sources, we still wanted a way to be front and center with our customers. It was integral for us not to disappear while we developed a plan to create new revenue streams. So we took a single element of one of our tours and offered it in a free digital format. Our Detour Dive Bar tour to Detroit, which was the first of our tours to be canceled due to the pandemic, allows guests to perform karaoke on our bus in between stops to some of Detroit's. So we took that idea and morphed it by hosting a free online karaoke for people to join in. Now, at the beginning of the pandemic, with people sequestered in their homes for pretty much all of March and April, they were stressed out and worried. And our free online karaoke sessions provided an outlet for them to see and talk to others and let loose a little bit, kind of forgetting about their worries for even just a few moments. And the sessions achieved that goal while keeping WindsorEats top of mind through media mentions on television and radio, and discussions and chat groups on the internet. Now, this mattered because just for like our business clients, it was important for us to remain front and center with the general public. We knew we would eventually be rolling out new products and needed to ensure we didn't just fade into the background as many businesses did during the pandemic. Then, when establishments shut down in March 2020, there was an incredible amount of confusion within the hospitality and tourism industry as to what was available and what businesses could and should do. So we at WindsorEats, we acted quickly, and we organized and hosted informative webinars across a wide variety of topics that provided valuable information to these hospitality and tourism businesses who had so many questions. Our live interactive webinars, we spoke with experts from across many industries, including accountants breaking down federal economic support systems, which were coming out fast and furious at that time, to lawyers explaining the legal ramifications of dealing with staff and layoffs, to many of those questions that those owners had. We also organized discussions with world-renowned tourism experts from Europe who had already been dealing with the pandemic before North America, and provided insight into seeking opportunities as well as marketing during a pandemic. WindsorEats sought to gather information to help eliminate that fear of the unknown for those restaurant owners and give a sense of direction for the industry and customer habits. We also conducted a survey that received over 500 responses in an effort to determine customer habits and whether or not they would return to dining out, and under what circumstances they would. So with that, we conducted a Future of Dining Out webinar in May 2020 that not only broke down the results of the survey, but also helped provide a vision as to what restaurants in Ontario could expect to be dealing with once they were permitted to reopen, based on what other jurisdictions in Canada, the US, and the world were implementing. Now, the webinars utilize our expertise as well as both domestic experts and world-renowned hospitality and tourism professionals. The sessions on accounting, insurance, marketing, identifying risk and opportunity in tourism, and more helped many navigate a tumultuous time and provided an opportunity to ask questions and gain knowledge. It kept us front and center, and you'll see that's a theme during what we did during the pandemic, at least the very beginning stages. It kept us front and center of businesses, in front of our business customers, the public, and even the media, as many other businesses and organizations stayed in the shadows, unsure of how to proceed at the very beginning. And it positioned us as a leader in our hospitality and tourism, or to our hospitality and tourism business clients, and who they turn to for answers and support. What we also did, with customers isolated in their homes, we knew it was also an opportunity. So we made an effort to keep those tourism businesses top of mind. We showcased local chefs, restaurants, bakers, hotel operators, and more in short videos offering tips and techniques those at home, viewing at home, could do. And the videos ranged from making yeast, baking bread, and other quick and easy recipes, and things like knife techniques as well. And we even had a hotelier teach a quick and easy way to fold those pesky bed sheets. These videos were organically viewed over a total of 100,000 times across Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And why does this matter? It was a cross-pollination of showcasing our hospitality and tourism partners to the public in a fun, educational manner, and ensuring their names continue to be front and center, even if they were closed. So once customers came back and they were able to reopen, they were remembering these businesses and having them, front and center in their mind to possibly go and support them. Now, after the pandemic left Point Pelee National Park with no equipment rentals or food and beverage service, WindsorEats approached Parks Canada to form a partnership. We stationed our traveler mobile bar at the Northwest Beach to provide bicycle rental services as well as beverage service to park visitors. There, we served customers from across Ontario and offered creative mocktails like the Monarch Mojito, which complemented the Point Pelee National Park in its offerings. By providing online availability for bike rentals, we also regularly rented out our allotment of bikes prior to even arriving to set up for them. One of my favorite things that we did during the pandemic, in March 2020, in an attempt to pivot, WindsorEats started developing the concept of a subscription service for locally produced beverages. After regular consultations and discussion, many discussions with the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, who themselves were unsure of how to license the idea, the Bevy Box was born. So to differentiate our product from local producers delivering their own products, our value proposition was variety. Our 6-pack of beer or our wine packs provided customers, unique beverages from 6 different breweries or wineries, all in one box. In an effort to support other small businesses during the summer season, we also partnered with other local businesses and makers to create entire kits, including an ultimate barbecue kit, which had local sausages and burgers in it, and buns and local pickles made, which were a huge seller. And as the holidays approached, we collaborated with more Windsor-based businesses, including the world-renowned decorative glass firm Sophie Studios, with local dog treat producers, local gift shops, and local barber shops, and others developing boxes that were made specifically for the holidays that were perfect gifts. Since then, since we launched, we've generated over $100,000 in sales, with thousands of cans of local beers, bottles of local wines delivered, and over 50 local small businesses supported through the Bevy Box. Now, this is probably the one that we gained the most exposure for, with COVID restrictions making it extremely difficult for hospitality and tourism businesses to operate. WindsorEats created the outdoor food hall. Early on in the pandemic, WindsorEats submitted a proposal to the City of Windsor for the creation of an outdoor food hall. And in May 2020, through their Small Business Action Plan, Windsor City Council formally approved the proposal for use of Lansbury Park as that outdoor food hall to assist those businesses that normally relied on festivals and events to generate revenue, or those who didn't have access to brick and mortar or outdoor patios. The outdoor covered rink was converted into a dining hall, which allowed us to leverage the 100-person capacity for outdoor events once the region entered into stage 2 of reopening. We were contactless and entirely digital, and we even partnered with the local makers on a makers market just outside the food hall for the holidays. In just 21 operational days over a 3-month period, in 2020, the outdoor food hall generated approximately $114,000 in sales to local businesses who participated, with well over 3,000 people who dined in and hundreds more ordering takeout. And the makers market itself had sales of over $65,000 in just 4 operational days. Now, thankfully, Windsor City Council graciously approved for us to return in 2021 to continue supporting small hospitality businesses, where we generated another $84,000 in spending from attendees. With the switch to digital and things going online, we also began developing online experiences to launch in January 2021. And while none of the classes officially launched in 2020, the first month of our Be a Pizza Maker class sold out entirely in less than 2 weeks of ticket sales being launched. Now, why does this matter? Because this was identifying light shining through the gaps that I mentioned about. It was finding and developing opportunities to create new revenue streams that could help now and continue to be relevant after this pandemic, and should another one happen. And as you can see, we've accomplished a lot during the pandemic. It was not a time to sit back and say, woe is me. Pina and I say it actually forced us to look at our entire business as a whole with fresh eyes, and that we've never worked harder since WindsorEats was launched. But while we created a lot of things that were new and different, it was still staying true to who we were as individuals and to our business. We weren't just doing things willy-nilly. And to put it bluntly, the last 2 years were a shit show, pardon my language, and Pina and I are fully expecting and preparing for the 2022 tourism season to be somewhat similar. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are still beacons of opportunity shining through the cracks, waiting for someone to identify and latch on to. So what are we expecting for 2022? Well, more regions and municipalities have begun to look at their tourism services with a different lens. It has gone beyond simply handing out a fancy rack card and creating a catchy hashtag, and more towards tourism being viewed as a true economic driver and developer for a region. In fact, just prior to the pandemic hitting, the very future of regional tourism organizations were called into question, with the province halting funding to 2 of the largest regional tourism organizations in the province, being Toronto and Ottawa. Now, it seems like there's a complete 180 since COVID hit, as it took the entire industry essentially disappearing overnight to get many people realizing how integral tourism is to our economy. And hopefully we see that continue. Next, DMOs across the globe are realizing that it isn't just about convincing outsiders to visit your destination. To be a true, authentic destination, residents need to be as aware of the value of tourism and opportunities, as well as the experiences within the destination as those visitors are, and put the focus on both. There needs to be significant public relations efforts in the community to make sure residents are hearing on a consistent and ongoing basis on the value that tourism is bringing to that individual. And a perfect example of this on a larger scale is from the state of Utah. In 2018, the state boasted that tourism generated $1.28 billion in tax revenue, or as they like to tout, between $1,200 and $1,300 in so-called tax revenue for each household in the state. It is this type of shared data that helps local residents understand and appreciate the value of being a solid tourism destination, and being part of it by knowing and touting what it has to offer. As a result of this kind of thinking, destinations and municipalities are reimagining what their management organizations can be and do, and demanding hard data that goes beyond follows and visitor guides handed out. They're actively tracking and showing the return on investment and the actual impact they're having, and being accountable for the funding they receive. Next, experiential tourism is far from new and has been happening for many years now, but it's still gaining steam and growing, and is more than just a fad. In fact, organizations who haven't embraced experiential tourism are pretty much being left behind as a result. Did you know 73% of our vivid memories as individuals come from first-time experiences or unique events? This is an important cue for companies looking to make themselves memorable to customers who have been experience deprived during the pandemic. So what is experiential tourism exactly? Well, it can mean many things to many people. In fact, the adoption of experiential travel at its base has led to even more in-depth and niche types of tourism, including transformative, wellness, and others. However, for today, we'll focus on the overarching experiential tourism, which is the umbrella for those types, for those other types. Experiential travel and tourism is a form of tourism in which people focus on interacting with a country, a city, or a particular place by actively and meaningfully engaging with its history, its people, its culture, food, and environment. For WindsorEats, we believe it's about engaging, educating, inspiring, and evoking emotions. It's about taking our guests beyond the traditional tourist activities and immersing them within the stories themselves versus just having them being spoken to. It's the feel of the grains in their hands as they dump them into the vats as part of the distilling process, and the smell of tomatoes boiling as they're making a traditional Italian sugo with a nonna, or the feel of dough between their fingers as they make pizza with Canada's only master pizza instructor. And it's watching the sunset on the horizon as a live musician sets the mood for a 15-course meal that's being prepared by a chef right next to your communal table. At the end of the day, for me, experiential tourism is all about creating and building emotional connections between you, your story, your product, and your guests. From a simply business perspective, guests who form those emotional bonds with a place or product or company are more likely to spend more, stay longer, return, and continually talk about your place and products to others. They become the perfect ambassadors for you. So while WindsorEats has been practicing experiential tourism since our first tour offering started in 2007 with our wine trail ride, we understand that one great experience does not make a vibrant and desirable tourism destination. One stat I always talk about is the 4 times rule, where it implies that a visitor or that visitors will make a point of stopping or staying in a community if it has enough activities that appeal specifically to them and will keep them busy 4 times longer than it took them to get there. So in other words, if a person had to drive 1 hour to visit you, do you have enough for them to keep them busy and entertained for 4 hours? What is also important is that the approach absolutely has to be from the visitor's mindset. Visitors don't care about city limits or county lines. So market the broader package and showcase your champions no matter where they're located, and you'll be able to keep people in the area long enough to translate to another meal, some more shopping, and hopefully an overnight stay. As a result of this belief, we've been at WindsorEats been continually developing new products and regularly educating ourselves in experiential tourism through training programs that complement each other, all to be able to entice visitors to come to Windsor-Essex. And now we're expanding on that process even more and have begun taking our years of experience, our knowledge, our blood, sweat, and tears, and our successes and failures, and are finalizing a complete experiential tourism masterclass to help other tourism partners, not just in Windsor-Essex, but across Ontario and North America, develop or elevate their own experiences based on their unique story. We want them to learn from our mistakes and help build a solid foundation of experiences. Helping others develop quality experiential tourism products and increase the offerings available are key to attracting the right visitors. Another thing that's really starting to grow in tourism is that Indigenous economies are growing at a rapid rate across the country, and Indigenous communities are increasingly taking a seat at the economic table. Fewer areas have shown this or showcase this stronger than tourism, and provincial and federal governments have recognized this by investing heavily into Indigenous communities being able to tell their own stories and share their culture. In fact, the Indigenous tourism sector growth is outpacing Canadian tourism activity overall. Prior to COVID-19 and the pandemic, with more than 12,000 people working in close to 600 businesses, the province contributed 622 million or 34% to Canada's Indigenous tourism GDP, which was $1.8 billion. And of that $1.8 billion revenue that Indigenous tourism contributed to Canada's gross domestic product, 70% of that came from international visitors, including the United States. And prior to COVID, the Canadian GDP impact of Indigenous tourism was estimated to increase to 2.2 billion by 2024. And according to the Indigenous Tourism Ontario and its COVID recovery strategy, early research indicates that a full recovery from the impacts of the pandemic for Indigenous tourism businesses will likely not be realized until 2023. Now, here in our own backyard, this means building strong bonds with the Caldwell First Nation. The nation recently announced ambitious plans to build the world's largest Indigenous restaurant. This is the perfect opportunity for not only economic reconciliation, but meaningfully connecting with their community on if there are ways that we can support their goals of becoming a gold standard in Indigenous tourism. And that is in demand, which is in demand by international travelers, and also for that tourism product to be shared and told by them, the land's original storytellers. Another big one, and I can't stress this enough, is the DNA of a destination. Think for a moment, what is Quebec City known for? What is Newfoundland and Labrador known for? What is Tofino, BC known for? These questions are fairly easy to answer. And in fact, the answers are their DNA. So what exactly is a destination's DNA? According to Destination Think, who have trademarked the term place DNA, simply stated, a destination's DNA is the definition of its intrinsic character, the meaning that people ascribe to it, or more often, a mixture of both elements. In city marking, it's called authenticity. The DNA definition of your place is the essential authenticity test for all your marketing. For example, if a place's destination or its DNA expresses unique old buildings and heritage landmarks, it's probably best not to try to attract people by communicating that you're a trendy, uber cool place to do business. A destination's marketing must match its DNA. Now, to provide the answers that I'm sure were in everyone's mind, Quebec City is known for its old world charm and amazing cuisine. Newfoundland and Labrador is known for its stunning vistas and charming people. And Tofino, BC is known for its incredible sunsets and surfing. Now, outside of our immediate region, what is Windsor known for? An issue with many DMOs across the world is that they attempt to market themselves to be everything to everyone, and in the process lose sight of what truly makes them unique. It's actually absolutely great to be niche, and in fact it's encouraged, because when you try to be everything to everyone, you accomplish being nothing to anyone. The belief that WindsorEats and many tourism experts around the globe follow is that identifying and embracing your unique selling proposition is key to paving the roadway to success. Focus on what truly separates you from the crowd and absolutely own it. So from a tourism perspective, what makes Windsor-Essex unique? Some might say the wineries, but Niagara might have something to say about that with their over 100 wineries. Some say we have great trails in Windsor-Essex. Well, the Muskoka and Bruce Peninsula region are saying, hold up a minute. For us, we believe it's whiskey. As a result, since 2015, WindsorEats' goal has been to create a foundation of whiskey experiences, complementing our region's unique DNA and history through developing experiential tourism, marketing, and branding Windsor as Whiskeytown Canada. The objective of our Whiskeytown Canada brand is to raise that profile of Canadian whiskey and have Windsor become the epicenter for Canadian whiskey. Through branding, marketing, and developing experiential tourism, our goal is to bring awareness and education regarding Windsor's role in Canadian distilling history, and our project aims to actively promote, as I mentioned, Canada as Whiskeytown, or Windsor as Whiskeytown Canada. Windsor and the region have a rich history that no other region in North America can compete with, including Kentucky. We are home to North America's largest distillery, and Hiram Walker's world-famous Canadian Club whiskey was founded here. Visitors and locals are surrounded by the impact that whiskey had on this region each and every day. And to this day, it activates all your senses. You can smell the drying grains from the distillery in every corner of the city. Even the auto industry in Windsor got its start because of Ford family connections to the Walker family. Now, WindsorEats has been building that foundation, to connect consumers with this growing niche market and increase the economic impact of tourism within the region and allow other stakeholders an opportunity to build upon it. It will connect, the Whiskeytown Canada brand will connect consumers to the region's DNA. Our Drinks of Walkerville tour, which is an Ontario signature experience. Festivals like our Whiskeytown Festival, hosted on the historic grounds of a church built with whiskey money, as well as programming and pageantry. And we anticipate that Whiskeytown will be the draw to entice overnight visitation and benefit other tourism sectors, such as gaming and culinary, and give Windsor a true identity abroad, just like those waves do for Tofino. With a properly executed and successful marketing campaign and the development of existing and new experiences, Whiskeytown has the potential to increase tourism spending, overnight stays, and contribute to the diversification of the local and surrounding economy. Why do we believe this will be successful? Well, let's dive into some data. In North America, the first thing people think of when they think of whiskey is good old bourbon. And Kentucky saw almost 2 million visitors in 2018 because simply and solely for their distilleries, which are mostly scattered through desolate countrysides. In contrast, as I mentioned, Windsor is home to North America's largest distillery, and it's located in the metropolitan area just 10 minutes from downtown Detroit. This population density allows the whiskey tourism potential to be almost limitless, because you can take culinary tours, walk from the distillery through a shopping and entertainment district and a bustling urban scene, all within a 2-kilometer radius. That largest distillery has also been regularly named Canada's best distillery at the Canadian Whisky Awards, and it regularly produces whiskeys that are also named Canada's best whiskeys of the year. Whiskey sales have been booming worldwide, and this has produced a parallel boom in whiskey-related tourism and whiskey-themed experiences. Travel Scotland also estimated that Scotch whisky distilleries received approximately 2 million visitors in 2018, and that was up about 10% from the previous year. For Kentucky and Kentucky bourbon, it now pours $8.6 billion each year into the state and generates more than 20,000 good-paying jobs, with an annual payroll topping $1 billion, and provides $235 million in local and state tax revenue. And it's also in the middle of a building boom that's valued at $2.3 billion. Average spend per person per distillery while they're at the distillery in Scotland is about $45. In Ireland, that spend is about $80, while in the US, it's around $50. So assuming an average spend of $50 per person at the distillery, whiskey tourism is adding about $250 million a year to a single distillery's coffers. Visitors are actively seeking these unique experiences in niche markets. In Windsor, we're providing those whiskey-focused experiences and seeing them thrive. Whiskey has the opportunity to elevate tourism and complement the award-winning wine and beer industries, which are already thriving here, while not necessarily making them the focus. Introducing a well-developed whiskey program as the focal point of tourism offerings locally would be a significant mark in helping draw more tourists to the region. And by combining the efforts of local, provincial, national, and educational institutions, Windsor can position itself to provide a healthy bounty in return for residents and visitors alike. Another trend in tourism is that more and more travelers are looking for destinations and businesses that meet their environmental and sustainability beliefs. They want to ensure they're providing their money to like-minded businesses and experiences that are leaving a positive impact on the communities they visit. In fact, Destination Canada just recently identified responsible travel as one of its key travel trends. The pandemic has enhanced the desire to connect in meaningful ways with places visited and to encourage local economies, while social environmental consciousness towards travel is also on the rise. Awareness of a traveler's impact on urban and wilderness environments and also on local populations has led to reflection on the part of both destinations and those who enjoy them. Traveling less often, but longer and deeper is at the forefront of traveler mindsets today. But it is still a little early to see whether it will translate into meaningful action. there is growing consumer research supporting the idea of responsible travel, which predicts travelers will want to lighten their footprint on destinations, supporting local economies, engaging with local cultures, reducing carbon emissions, and enabling environmental conservation. Correspondingly, nations are examining the idea of regenerative travel, wherein tourism contributes net benefits to its host communities, economically, social, culturally, and environmentally. Destinations are taking action by creating a symbiotic engagement between the host community and the visitors they want to attract. Back in 2020, WindsorEats announced its commitment to these to initiatives like this that promote environmental, social, and economic sustainability within the local tourism industry by putting our focus on a triple bottom line. If you're unaware, triple bottom line is when business success is no longer defined by only monetary gain, but also by the effect on people and the planet. Not only do we enter an environmental sustainability partnership with IRCA, dedicating a portion of every ticket to a WindsorEats experience to plant trees and grow tree cover in Windsor-Essex, but we also ensured that each member of WindsorEats' team received a livable wage when working with us. Another trend is revenge. And I know it sounds funny, but revenge travel could potentially be a major issue for Windsor-Essex. So what is revenge travel? Well, it's the act of making up for lost time as well as lost opportunities. With so many birthdays, weddings, honeymoons, and vacations having been missed out on during the pandemic, many people are looking to make up for all the things we missed out on and the lost time, and they're expecting to strike back with a vengeance to check off their bucket lists. In an effort to get back at the pandemic that has stolen about 2 years of our lives, celebration trips are expected to come back with a force. A recent survey by The Vacationer found that more than a quarter of people plan to travel more than they used to pre-COVID. They stated that pent-up demand is raging as people have spent valuable pandemic time reassessing what matters most in their lives, including work-life balance, spending time with family and friends, milestone celebrations, and of course, exploring the world. Another recent report from TripAdvisor revealed that more than a third of travelers say traveling to a destination they have not previously visited is more important now than ever before. And as odd as it sounds, people exploring in this instance might not be a good thing for Windsor-Essex. A weak brand recognition for Windsor-Essex and its offerings will also be a struggle in attracting Ontarians from north of Chatham, and a belief that American visitors from Michigan and Ohio being slow to return to traveling across the border could result in a reduced number of visitors to our region. Throw in that WindsorEats themselves will likely be escaping to other destinations to achieve their own revenge travel, and it doesn't paint the prettiest of pictures for Windsor-Essex in 2023 as far as tourism goes. And this is where destination DNA and, as a direct result, brand recognition are vitally important. Hopefully I'm wrong, but to put it bluntly, who's going to visit Windsor-Essex for the first time if they don't know who we are or what we offer? Now, to completely contradict what I just said, to some extent, local will be the absolute most important market for local tourism businesses. Flight costs are expected to fly, pardon the pun. The unpredictability of canceled flights is thought to rise. Staff shortages in hotels and tourism businesses are already being seen, and so much more that just might cause some concerned folks to push their trips a little further down the road. Given the rise in fuel and the fact that fares were extremely low in 2020 and even up to 2021, it's anticipated by industry experts that there will be a significant price increase in airline tickets for 2022. So what will a consumer do? Will they stay with mainline carriers? Will they look to connect where it's cheaper? Will they go to a low-cost carrier, or will they delay travel outright? Really, right now, no one really knows. So continuing a focus on local is definitely an opportunity for Windsor-Essex, but with those Michigan and Ohio visitors expected to continue being almost non-existent compared to pre-COVID numbers, that shrinking of our local market can also be a weakness for us. The wellness tourism sector, which was decimated by the impact of COVID-19, just like many others, is enjoying a massive rebound right now. And according to a recent report from the leading research and educational resource for the global wellness tourism industry, it's one to definitely keep an eye on as a trend. Many individuals are beginning to understand the importance of putting their mental health and well-being first, and it's partially the reason for the great resignation that we're seeing across the globe. The global wellness tourism market size was valued at $801 billion in 2020 and is projected to reach $1.6 trillion by 2030. In 2020, the lodging segment accounted for the highest share in the wellness tourism market. Now, wellness tourism is driven by a desire to live a healthy lifestyle, avoid sickness, reduce stress, control distressing lifestyle behaviors, and or have authentic experiences, which again fit into the whole destination DNA. Wellness tourism, which encompasses the promotion of health and personal well-being via different physical, psychological, and spiritual activities, is a result of this shift in preference by individuals. Now, another trend for the Great Lakes, which is actually a great trend in tourism, is a great thing for Windsor-Essex, is that Great Lakes cruising is about to boom. WindsorEats has been dealing with cruise ship dockings in Windsor and Detroit for over 10 years now, as well as a potential opportunity to redeem ourselves. Windsor would originally receive the vast majority of dockings in the Windsor-Detroit region. Dozens of dockings with 200 plus passengers, or dozens of ships with 200 plus passengers would dock at the foot of Olette Avenue from May to October. However, a few years ago, the Detroit Port Authority and Detroit Convention and Visitors Bureau made a concerted effort to attract and appease the cruise lines. They upped their game, and what resulted was almost every single docking shifting from Windsor over to our neighbors across the river. Guests there would be greeted with pageantry when stepping off the ships by musicians, caricatures of famous Detroiters, and more, and having itineraries created for them that played off of the city's authentic history and culture and more. They put themselves in the mindset of the visitors and offered an experience for each docking. Even when the ships do dock in Windsor now, we're simply tasked with getting them immediately on a bus and driving them to Detroit, bypassing any Windsor-Essex offerings. Yes, the cruise industry has had major issues since the pandemic. However, the big players in the industry are extremely bullish on Great Lakes cruising. 2022 should see the start of this massive boom in the Great Lakes cruising, with 6 brands scheduled to set sail this spring and summer, and with many in the process of completing or starting new ship builds with the Great Lakes in mind. This includes French luxury brand Penant, as well as Viking Cruise Lines, who are bringing a luxury ship that fits 378 passengers and 262 crew to the region, and it even has its own submarine. While official numbers haven't been finalized, it's safe to say that cruising capacity in the Great Lakes will be up approximately 40% for 2022. In the next couple of years, we will also see National Geographic and Ritz-Carlton enter the Great Lakes cruising industry. There are currently many additional ships that will launch in the next 5 years that will be seaway capable, with an estimated 10 ships currently being built. With this influx of ships coming through our region, Windsor-Essex can appeal to them by improving docks and the areas immediately surrounding them, offering an improved disembarking experience, and especially developing and advocating for experiences that are unique identifiers for our region. It's extremely vital to know that these cruise ships are not a one-size-fits-all solution, as they each want to be able to offer something truly unique and exclusive for their customers, and it is integral to be in tune with what their needs are. As an example, we have a great award-winning epic wine region here, but when the ships are already docking in Niagara and visiting wineries there, offering a repeat experience isn't going to do you well in attracting those dockings and excursions. The focus has got to be about what the customer wants and not what meets our wants. Another hurdle is finding a way to reduce docking and customs costs. As an example, to reduce expenses, a cruise departing from Cleveland for Windsor-Detroit will likely dock in Detroit so as not to deal with customs and pay much less in fees when they dock in Little Current after Detroit, as well as minimal customs delays versus what they deal with here in Windsor. The pandemic has pretty much flung the tourism industry into uncharted territory. Behavioral shifts among customers and visitors are happening at remarkable rates and could drastically affect the destination's ability to draw in visitors and increase spending. With not just ever-changing rules, but also rapidly changing visitor desires and behaviors, the destinations which did best during these turbulent times are the ones that took calculated risks and were quick, adaptable, and flexible. After all, complacency. We all want to be liked, and no one enjoys being criticized or rejected. Yet when all you do is conform, all you have to offer is conformity. We need to be willing to do what we need to be willing to own what makes us unique, to walk our own path and do what's best for our region and tourism operators versus what others expect. It's not easy, but no one ever achieved greatness by playing it safe. After all this, you may be asking, so where do we go from here? Well, first, it's integral to remember that not all businesses receive support during the pandemic. As a result, our region's tourism landscape and offerings may very likely be vastly different exiting the pandemic than what it looked like entering it. While a lot was made of the provincial and federal supports for hospitality and tourism, those supports were set up in a way that many small businesses in those industries, ourselves included, were not eligible to receive them. As an example, we were excluded for almost all supports offered, as tour and event operators were not eligible for tourism support opportunities. Second to that, many of the supports offered were loans, forcing small businesses needing help to take on even more debt. Organizations tasked with supporting hospitality and tourism need to identify which businesses fell between the gaps and find ways to provide the help they so desperately need to survive. If not, as I mentioned, our tourism landscape and our offerings may be drastically different when the pandemic is over. Next, in my honest opinion, COVID is providing a perfect opportunity to start anew from the ground up. It offers a springboard to finally determining who we are, our DNA, our differentiators, how they may play into what people want, what we have that provides what they want, and what gaps we have that need to be filled. But more importantly, it's the perfect opportunity to set up parameters and metrics to ensure accountability from our tourism partners and the money invested in presenting and growing tourism in Windsor-Essex, ensuring that a proper return on investment is being made. These metrics are key to identifying trends and efforts that are working and not working to be able to make any needed adjustments. And for the record, I want to be clear that making mistakes and things not working out as planned is not a bad thing. Creating an environment that eliminates the fear of making mistakes can go a long way to properly seizing and benefiting from calculated risks. It's continually making the same mistakes with no way of even knowing that you are that is debilitating. Relying on weak metrics and anecdotal evidence cannot and should not be an option for making decisions and determining success. As you may have noticed through the presentation, I'm all about being upfront and honest, and to have any chance of improving our issues, we need to be realistic with what those issues are. To do this, biases, prejudices, egos, and political leanings need to be put aside. And in addition to that, our champions and high quality experiences and activities need to be the ones showcased regardless of where they are or aren't located in the region. Parity and inclusivity in this instance does a destination a disservice. Once your destination's DNA is determined, the best of the best that fit your voice, your image, and your goals need to be at the forefront. Have you ever been somewhere that someone absolutely raved about and it wasn't anywhere near what they said it was? How did you feel? The reality is that building up an experience or destination to be more than what it truly is, to fit a specific narrative and not the visitor's needs, has a long-term negative impact on the entire region and all of its tourism partners. This type of behavior leads to a sour taste in the mouth of visitors, who then speak of their experience to friends and family, which affects the perception and reputation of our region. And I apologize for my dog going, she's begging for food right now. But we need to build a structure that positively showcases our tourism champions, not just to visitors, but also to other tourism partners, while providing them with a path to achieve that same success and exposure through training and development. It's about raising not just our ceiling, but more importantly, also raising our floor. Now, at the end of the day, business ecosystems should be business led in order for them to be sustainable, and tourism is no different. As you leave here today, know that our arms are always open, and we'd be more than willing to work closer with organizations looking to help strengthen our tourism sector and hospitality sector from an entrepreneurship growth perspective, as more support is always needed in an entrepreneurial position. It's really important that businesses lead the charge, as we're the ones in the trenches knowing what's needed and what has to happen. Now, with everything that I said, I want to once again truly thank WeTech and Yvonne and Adam Castle for the opportunity to speak today, and for all of you taking the time out of your busy days to listen. And hopefully this will lead to us having further discussions. Thank you.
Adriano, thank you so much. Go tend to Zoe. She seems very motivated for food right now. There she is. That's awesome.
Sorry about that. She'll quiet down now that she's in my lap.
Oh, it's so cute. Yeah, we're literally, all of us are very codependent with our animals now. So thank you so much for your presentation, the time that you put in. I know it wasn't a small amount to get all that information and sort of summarize all the great opportunities and looking at, you know, where we can build back or how we can build something different. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we actually did a program alongside Justin LaFontaine called Digital Shift, and it was specifically for tourism operators. And one of the things you and Pina had said in that workshop was that this really gave you the opportunity to try things that you weren't able to try before. You had nothing else, literally nothing else to do. So it's a great opportunity to pull out sort of all of the ideas that maybe you've gathered some dust over the years and just see what works, see what's new, see what's able to sort of bring that forward. And I think that experimental process that you've sort of embodied within your business is a big reason why you're able to find your way, pick your way through, not without challenges, but you still made that happen. You're still able to sort of go through the pandemic with these sort of new offerings. I think that's a part of your DNA as an organization, and one of the things that actually makes it so special and makes it obviously stand out, right? So thank you so much for sharing today. We're so grateful for you to be here.
Thank you very much.